LTA는 SK텔레콤.
I don't know if you guys caught that, but the crowd actually faltering a little bit on MVP's cheer. But the player for MVP, the red Zerg down here in the bottom right, this is, of course, Sniper.
GSL Code champion, usually the anchor for his team in the all-kill format for GSTL, and he's up against Squirtle, a very high-profile player that really shined, I think, in the later parts of 2012 and early 2013 looked good as well. Somebody that trained with Seed a lot. They practiced together when they were both on IM. And Squirtle is never somebody to take lightly. He did have that really good run in GSL Code S, and that was his most successful run ever individually. But he's always been a solid player who knows really good builds. He's an innovator, like many IM players.
Yeah, most of my impressions on Squirtle actually came from the GSTL, where he came out quite a lot, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
And he just made so many of these exciting games, like you mentioned before, that one against MVP. Terminus Re, I remember that game as well. That was some sick play out of
Mothership
both
Core,
of those. Yeah.
I mean, not Mothership Core, actual Mothership back when we had that unit in the game. And, you know, Blink Stalkers, it was the first time we had a map that was that big, and I think both players even got 5th bases. And Wings of Liberty at the time, that was just not common. It was just not done to have a map where players would take so many bases when you have such a late game back and forth action. And it was a really pivotal moment for me in StarCraft because I realized that things were going to move a little bit more towards Brood War style, all about the macro, not even all about the timings. Because in Wings of Liberty, up until that point, it pretty much was all about the all-ins and all about the timings, who had the best ones. There's never really ever a 4th base being taken, never a Nexus first.
Yeah, and that's why that game was so exciting to watch, because we saw, you know, units that barely ever came out the Mothership and just crazy macro 5-base play for both players. It was just really fun to watch that game as a contrast to what we were seeing at the time.
Yep. And just talking about the Season 1 finals there, you saw where these two teams did play against each other. Sniper usually would come out as one of the last players, 3rd or 4th for MVP back in the day when we had all-kill formats for MVP playing in the GSTL, because he was one of the strongest players, somebody they could rely on last. DRG was often the one that came out last, but then he started to have nerve issues. And I think that's one of the reasons maybe why we don't see him at all today, especially after that crushing defeat where we got to see his Hydralisk crushed against the wall. And this is very annoying, you know, a bit of turning the tables here, giving Squirrel a taste of his own medicine with the block there on the Nexus.
And I like that. I like that a lot. Now let me ask you a question, Wolf, about this map particularly.
Sure.
Star Station for Zerg. Looking at that 3rd base, it doesn't look the easiest 3rd base to take. What do you think Zergs usually like to do on this map?
Well, okay, so he knows he's up against a fast gateway expand. He's been able to scout that much, and he sees the Cybernex core timing now as well, exactly here with his Overlord. So what Sniper is probably thinking is, I really want to get Zergling's speed out as early as possible when I take this 3rd base, because like you said, it's a little bit tougher when you're up against a gateway expand to take this base. It's close by, but the rest of this on this map isn't too far, and with the timing of the warp gate research, how quickly he can put some pressure on, if you just have slow Zerglings alone, you're going to lose your hatchery, or you're going to lose way too much larva defending it. So he needs to get gas up. He's going to want to play this one very safely. So what you said is correct. You know, this 3rd base is not easy to take, especially with the build that Squirtle has shown us here. The Mothership Core is coming out quite early, and with the Mothership Core and the Stalker together, can definitely do a little bit of poking. And I don't know if we'll see that necessarily, but he's got that option.
Yeah, he definitely has that option with the gateway opening, gateway expand. He does have that Zealot at the top of his ramp just to make sure no Zergling run-bys happen. Zergling speed just getting started right now, so no crazy solar action against SOS like he played.
Definitely not. And here's that poke I'm talking about. He sends the Zealot and the Mothership Core ahead, keeps the Stalker at home to make sure he can intercept those Zerglings. Stalker and Zerglings off creep have the same movement speed, so it's really easy for him to actually chase those away. And if they try to run past, there's no way they're going to be able to. Now, if you know, if I'm not reading this incorrectly, I think we're going to see a very aggressive timing here. But because this is scouted with the Overlord, not with Immortals, but instead with Colossi off of 2 base. That's probably what we're going to see here, because we don't have the Forge for +1. And with the scout on the robotics like this, I mean, if he does an Immortal push, it's just too obvious, I feel.
Yeah, and Sniper's a good enough player to see exactly what Squirtle is going for and say, okay, this is what he can do with the build he's going for, and this is what he can't do. And seeing this with the robotics facility, he's like, okay, he could do an immortal push. He could actually go for a Warp Prism, which is exactly what he's doing right now.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to go for a Sentry drop here. And this could be devastating, especially against a player who doesn't have a Roach Warren. If you skip that Roach Warren, you're in trouble. So what Sniper has seen right now is, okay, could have Immortals coming here soon. Could be it could be anything, but probably not going to be a Sentry drop. It's probably not what he's expecting here. And he's probably thinking, okay, get the Roach Warren up a little bit later, I'll be fine. But if he gets force fielded off at the ramp with all the warpins he's going to have, this could be a disaster very quickly.
Yeah, we saw a game in the preseason actually where a Protoss player went for this against a Zerg, and they got so much damage done on the main base. It's a really strong drop if you're not expecting it, and I don't think that Zergling did see that War Prism, so if he can get these sentries up onto the high ground, this could be devastating.
Oh, Zergling's running over here at the same time to poke at the front. Overlord coverage here is decent. I don't think he's going to be able to get this into the main base unless he gets lucky. Nice ward off of these Zerglings. And here comes that Warp Prism. Will get scouted. And the second it's scouted, Sniper knows exactly what he needs to do. He needs to make roaches, needs to get all of his units where the Warp Prism is. If the Warp Prism's on the low ground down here, he needs to have units there. If it's on the high ground, then of course he needs to have them there instead. And because this is scouted, he doesn't even try to go for the ramp. He just traps this queen here, and we'll get one drone as well.
Yeah, not quite warping in any more units just yet, just having 3 sentries. Putting down 3 force fields so far, wasn't able to trap any of those drones. Those drones are just waiting outside. And now these sentries bunched up in the back. The Zerglings are going to come in.
Yeah, and Warp Prism's going to want to pick those up and get them out of there. The Roach is here as well, so he can't stick around. I like his choice to not use the force fields there and try to trade against the Zerglings, knowing the Roaches should pop out soon. And what he can do now is always threaten, always be around. And he's taking a third base. So having this Warp Prism here keeps those Roaches, keeps those Zerglings at home. If he goes for a big attack, then this Warp Prism becomes a very big threat. So he's basically saying, I have a Warp Prism in your base, so you can't attack my third base.
And this is so good because he already has a robotics facility for these Roaches that Sniper needed to build in order to ward this off. And he can just start pumping out those Immortals and being ready for any counter aggression that comes out just like this. Sniper sending a bunch of his Zerglings over here, but they're going to be denied by the army of Squirtle.
Now that the Warp Prism is at home, he does have a very solid defense. The big scary thing that he doesn't yet know about is that Spire. He's doing the double hallucination scout, something that I do myself, you know, whenever I scout hallucinations. If you do this, you guarantee that they're going to live long enough to check everything you want. You can also split them up to get full coverage of the bases. He really needs to know what is coming his way. If he scouts the Spire, he knows, okay, Mutalisk could be a possibility, something I'm going to want to be prepared for. He has a Twilight Council for Blink. And he may consider, because he's gotten this third base up essentially for free with that little poking of the Warp Prism, adding Stargates to defend against this.
Yeah, he has a lot of different avenues here, and that Hallucinated Phoenix is so smart because he's going to be able to come to the base and just see everything. Also, what he did was he did force that one Spore Crawler at the natural. I don't think Sniper thinks this is actual Stargate play just yet, but he was able to do at least that. Now the Dark Shrine coming up.
Yeah, Blink as well. Look at the worker count, 71 to 61. As a Protoss player, this is a pretty comfortable place to be. Nice force fields here by Squirtle, isolating all of those Roaches there. He ends up using 5, but it's still worth it. Weakens this pressure a little bit. And the question is, how many Mutalisks are we going to see out here? He goes up to all the way to 9. Can get a 10th one out once he hits that 100 gas again. Certainly run by actually keeping Squirtle back home a little bit. And that's what he needs to do because Mutalisk can't hold this push off. He needs to just distract him.
This is very, very good out of Sniper, sending some Zerglings to the front of the natural as well as some to the third, doing some damage to those probes. And Squirtle is actually sending his army across the map. He's going for this.
Yep. Zealots running into the main base as well. This is going to be a big annoyance. It's going to draw some of the Zerg army back in there. Could also go for a big warp in here as well. Depending on how he wants to play this, the Mutalisk may have to turn around to defend. He's got 3 Immortals here, a ton of force fields available still. It's a very scary situation right now for Sniper. I don't have an observing PC, so I can't tell you guys how many Spine Crawlers there are, if any, but it's all about the anti-air here. Does he have enough to deal with the Mutalisk? Here comes the surround!
And he's actually just going to go for a mass recall, not committing to that push, just forcing a lot of units to be made out of Sniper.
A pretty smart choice. Needs to make sure he doesn't lose these, though. Yeah, sends them home. But I like the position for Sniper now. A 4th base is up. He's getting those gases. And with this many Zerglings and also the Mutalisks, he's got total control over the map. Blink isn't ready. The cannons are being made now. This is keeping Squirtle rooted on 3 bases. And taking a 4th base is going to be his next goal here. But it's not going to be easy.
Yeah, the only thing that Squirtle has going for him is the Blink is going to finish in time for any Mutalisk to come in and do any harass. But like you just said, it's going to be really, really hard for him to take a 4th base, especially on this map against Zerg. And Sniper just in a really, really good position. He has a lot of drones as well, and he's going to start teching up even more.
Yep, here comes a little bit of Mutalisk harass, only being able to get a few probes and a cannon. forcing that overcharge on the Nexus. Both players seem to have similar ideas here. 5 gateways going down for Squirtle, 5 spine crawlers going down for Sniper, knowing that a big push might be coming his way with +2 and a ton of blink stalkers, which seems to be something that Squirtle is definitely considering here. And Mulus fighting their way through here, just ignoring the stalkers.
And a Dark Templar coming in here, but there is an Overseer as well as a Spine Crawler and a Spore Crawler here, so that Dark Templar not going to do much damage at the natural, at least.
Oh,
he's starting to hit
Spire.
onto the Spire.
Yeah.
He's got to take care of that. Sniper does.
And there's actually harass going on at the 4th base as well. And the army that's coming out here, that big Blink Stalker push I was talking about, it's on. Here we go. The Mulus actually have to stay around and fight with this. And the DTs continue to do damage. So many drones going down. Only 1 gas mining now here. Those spines aren't going to finish. And what Squirtle could maybe do is redirect his army to go ahead and attack that base. He gets 2 Mulus for free, but meanwhile, his natural and his 3rd base are under attack.
Oh, he's putting a bunch of Zerglings in there at both the 2nd and the 3rd, but this attack is going down. He's bringing the Mulus back. He's going to pick up a couple of units in the back here if he's not careful. Squirtle turning around. A bunch of really good force fields going down, surrounding the whole army. Ton of Zerglings and Mulus doing a ton of damage to this. A bunch of Stalkers going down as well.
Yep, there's not enough anti-air here, so every single one of these units will fall. All of the Immortals as well. And Squirtle loses everything here. He no longer has any momentum in this game. He has no more control. And that was a bit overzealous for him to move out there. He thought the Mulus were going to go back to his main base. That's why he kept most of his Stalkers there. Well, it didn't happen. The Mulus came back. The Zerlings came for the surround. And force fields can only buy you time in that kind of situation. And now Sniper is got this game in the bag. It's his game to lose.
Sniper has all the control here. So many ground units as well as so many Mulus. He does not have to commit to an attack right here. He has 4 bases up, and like we said before, it's going to be so hard for Sniper to take a 4th. He still does not have that good ground army as well. He just doesn't have what he needs to deal with this army.
The Gateway's being unpowered multiple times here. The Mulus just trading against the Stalkers. Zerlings on the ground as well. Sniper pushing through here. Squirtle on the ropes. Pressed to defend. It's not going to be possible. He's failing his multitasking here a little bit as well. Zealots in the main base a bit too slow. There's spine crawlers set up everywhere. 54 Zerlings on the way. And eventually, Squirtle is going to run out of steam here.
Squirtle is going to run out of steam. This harass is doing a bit of damage, but with all the Zerglings as well as some Mulus, he is going to be able to clean it up. And you can just see on the map, Sniper, I feel like Squirtle is playing a bit of a game of chicken with Sniper, where you're saying, okay, you're going to go for my base, so I'll go for your base. And then Sniper was like, all right, if you want to do that, I'll just fight you head on, because I see that you don't have enough Stalkers to deal with all the Mulus that I have. Turned around, fought the battle. The force fields were not enough to keep away all the Zerglings, because the Mulus were doing too much damage as well. All the Stalkers were taken out. The entire army of Squirtle was taken out, and then Sniper getting really big control of this game.
I mean, he fought maybe 15 Mutalists with, I think, 5 Stalkers and 3 Sentries basically as his anti-air, with Zerling support on the ground. The Immortals are really strong against Roaches, and that's what he was expecting to see, but he scouted the Spire a bit too late. And the Immortals are good to have in your army because they do make quick work of Spines. But more and more Spine Crawlers are going up. Sniper is literally playing this perfectly. He's not making any mistakes. He's playing so safe. He knows that an all-in might be the only way that Squirtle can win this game. So he just sets up Spines. Goodbye Templar Archives. No more Archons. No Archons at all, in fact, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, that's just so good for him. He's so able to just take this 5th base so easy. You can see that it's just this Dark Templar that's able to do any damage to this thing. He has total control of the whole map with his very, very mobile army. He's going to take quick control. You're going to take out that Dark Templar really, really fast.
Yeah, that DT getting a few kills, but there wasn't much mining there just yet. Now even Baneling Nest being added here. And I like this choice because he has so many Zerglings and he has the gas to support this. He can make about 20 Banelings and he can kill all the sentries with his Mutalists, and then there's not going to be any force fields. The Stalkers are going to melt to Banelings. Yep. Banelings aren't even good against Stalkers, but he's basically just saying, I've got so many resources and so many Zerglings already available, why not? Goodbye, Twilight Council.
He's just able to come in here and take out so many big tech buildings as well. He produced even 9 more Mutals before. He just has so many resources and the economy to support whatever kind of composition he wants. He's deciding to go for so many, even more 11 Mutalists on the way, as well as that Baneling Nest is going to finish. Just coming back in here, harassing even more. Look at that huge pack of Mutalists.
He's able to 3-shot the Dark Shrine. And you could just ignore these Stalkers and even fight them. As you can see, with only some of them blinking up into the main base, if he had all of them, he couldn't fight. He was being a little bit sloppy with Mulus for a moment, but now it just doesn't matter. He's able to remax the Mulus instantly. And, I mean, Sniper, it did throw away a lot of units here, but the economy for Squirtle is basically non-existent. He still has no 4th base. He's mined out in the main, and he finally repowers his +3. That's still not even done.
Yeah, I mean, he is getting these guys away. He is killing a bunch of Mutalisks, but it's just not enough. Sniper can just continue making Mutalisks, and here he is going to go in and just attack for the final time.
Yeah, this time it looks like he may actually end it. There's way too many Mutalisks here. Zerling's on the ground as well. Even with the overcharge, yes, he does ward this away, but more and more Zerlings on the way. Mutas as well. He's got to be careful, though. He may want to consider switching up his composition. Adding an Infestation Pit would be nice, because then he could just drop a few fungals, do that AoE damage. Now he's on the run here. The Stalkers are going for the chase. They do have +3, and this time it looks like he just barely might have enough. Guardian Shield goes up. He's going to chase these Mutalisks away. And Squirtle hasn't taken this game back by any means, but he's hanging on by a thread.
He is definitely hanging on by a thread, but the Zerglings coming in from behind and a bunch more from the base are going to try to attack, but they're going to back off for now. He keeps on going back and forth, and a bunch of his Mutalisks are being picked off at the same time while he does this.
He keeps making more and more to replace them, but at the same time, I'm concerned that if he loses too many, then finally Squirtle will be able to take that fourth base. That could be scary. The lack of Archons is becoming a problem. That's why the Mutalisks can bully these Stalkers so much. Also, Storm be something you would like to have. But to my knowledge, he hasn't rebuilt his Templar Archives just yet. He doesn't have a Twilight Council either because he lost that. So right now, all Squirtle can do is hope to go for that one all-in that we talked about. But there's so many Spine Cores set up. This is exactly what Sniper expects.
Yeah, Sniper did a really good job taking out all those tech buildings and not allow him to get those even higher tech abilities that would allow him to deal with all these Mutalisks. And he's just able to continue to take out the army of Squirtle. And Squirtle is forced to keep making those army units instead of trying to tech up and get back to the High Templar or even the Archons. And now with a bunch of these Banelings, I think Squirtle is going to try for the all-in. The last attack here, Baneling's going to roll in, going to explode on a bunch of these Stalkers, and they do that.
Yep, and even the Zealots getting kicked out here, and that means the Zerlings are more effective. Baneling's great defensively. If you blink on top of them, it's not going to be a good thing, so you can just keep those underneath the Mutalisks. Down to 69 supply here. Squirtle has a type GG, and MVP takes game number 1.
Very, very well played out of Sniper, just the whole time having so much control over the whole game.
Yeah, just taking that fourth base, using the Mutalisks to harass, and picking a tech that's becoming more popular in Korea right now, and running with it. And there was nothing that Squirtle could do once the Mutalisk count got that high. He didn't have Storm. He had Blink, but it's insignificant if he can't actually chase those Mutalisks down.
Yeah, he just had so many Zerglings on the ground as well that if he wanted to chase after those Mutalisks, it would have been really, really hard. The only time he was really able to do that was when Sniper was just flying the Mutalisks all around his base. You know, after he took out the Templar Archives, the Twilight Council came in and took out a bunch of probes and cannons, the Dark Shrine. He just had so many Mutalisks, and at that point, Squirtle could not be on the offensive. He was just able to fly around the base and destroy so much stuff. It put Squirtle so far behind. He was forced to use so many of his resources on the army, and he just wasn't able to come back in the game. He was never able to take a fourth base the entire game.
The big turning point in the game was when he went out for that push, and he ran ahead into Zerling surround, and the Mutalisks were in the middle of the map. When he thought they were on the edge of the